I'm Kenneth Chow, Ben Chow. This is my quantum gravity video 40, not 14. So today's topic is theories on the origin of the universe. I have, if you have followed my videos, then you know that I have my own theory about the present existing conditions of the mechanism of the universe, which is I call the creation cycle theory, which is in my video 16, video 28, video 33, and 38. However, I looked at that there is still some incompleteness in that theory, in that there is no theory on the origin of the universe, or how the matter, radiation, etc., particles, etc., appear. How did they first appear? And so I think that in order to complete that creation cycle theory of mine, I need to have a talk on the theories of the origin of the universe. Of course, this will be forever controversial and debatable, because no one can go back billions of years to see actually how the universe first began. All this may be just theory, and there is no way to conduct any experiments to find out, because no one can do an experiment on the scale of the universe. So this will be forever a controversial, debatable theory. Firstly, there are several and just a number of theories on the origin of the universe, and I just give some examples. Just few of the many theories. We have the Molar Grimstrup and Johannes Astrups. This theory is a purely mathematical one, and this is the short term for is QHD. It's called the quantum holomorphism, diffeomorphism theory. It's a purely mathematical one. It says it encodes some basic features of the ordinary empty space in a set of mathematical operations and algebra, from which deduce configuration space, which has an infinite number of dimensions, all different ways of some objects or stuffs which can move around in such configuration space. B, we have one from the famous physicist Stephen Hawking. There's the first one. He has three theories. First one is actually just quoted the theories from other people. From Richard Feynman's Sum Over History. From the multiverse, one of these 1/10 to the power 500 is our observable universe. And this is, can be found in the last chapter of Hawking's book 2010, The Grand Design. And the second one, B2, that is to say, this one will be, I'll talk about it in more detail. From a universe or multiverse of total zero energy, and by gravity, which is negative energy, it turns into a matter and energy or positive energy. The third one is M theory with supersymmetry. Of all these theories, I prefer B2, that's to say, that's the second one mentioned by Stephen Hawking. I will quote from page 169 to 170 from the book A Universe from Nothing by Laurence Krauss. Laurence Krauss. Sorry. 2012. Page 169 to 170. It says, in quantum gravity, universes can, and indeed always will, spontaneously appear from nothing. Such universes need not be empty, but can have matter and radiation in them, as long as the total energy, including the negative energy associated with gravity, is zero. And from the page 150 to 152 of the same book, quote, empty space can have a non-zero energy associated with it, even in the absence of any matter or radiation. General relativity tells us that space will expand exponentially. During such rapid expansion, the region that will eventually encompass our universe will get flatter and flatter, even as the energy contained within empty space grows as the universe grows. This is possible because the gravitational pressure associated with such energy in empty space is actually negative. This negative pressure implies that as the universe expands, the expansion dumps energy into space rather than the vice versa. When inflation ends, the energy stored in empty space gets turned into an energy of real particles and radiation. Thus, small density fluctuations in empty space due to the rules of quantum gravity will later be responsible for all the structure we observe in the universe today. And after all the dust is settled, the generic configuration of the matter and radiation will be that of essentially a flat universe, one in which the average Newtonian gravitational energy of all objects will appear to be zero. That something can arise from empty space precisely because the energetics of empty space in the presence of gravity are not what the common sense would have guided us to suspect before we discover the underlying laws of nature. In this picture, we must assume that space exists and can store energy, and one uses the laws of physics like general relativity to calculate the consequences. End of quote. I've quoted the whole thing. Let me see first. That why B2 is my choice is because A, it theorizes how general relativity combined with quantum mechanics to create the universe we see today. In a flat equilibrium state. And this meshes very well with my theory of creation cycle. We can see this, find this in my video 16, 28, 33, and 38, which aptly describe a pleasant flat universe in an equilibrium state. B. There have been some experiments. Recently, I have just mentioned recently, and because it meshes well with my creation cycle theory, and so it completes my theory. My theory lacks an explanation of the origin, how everything came into being in the first place, how every energy of this universe come into being in the first place. Now it completes with this B2 theory. It completes my theory. Of course, the B2 theory will always be debatable and controversial because this is about the origin of the universe, which no experiment can be conducted on it. So it will always be controversial. Now another reason, B. There have been some experiments which in a way appear to support this idea, support B2. These were experiments in which an element or a gas is chilled using method including laser, aiming to reach absolute zero temperature. When extremely near absolute zero and chilling is relentlessly continued, then suddenly without ever reaching minus 273.15 degrees Celsius, that's to say absolute zero temperature, suddenly a drastic spike in temperature brought the elements or the gas to an extremely high temperature for just a fleeting moment, of course, it's not a permanent high temperature, and then it's dropped back to a low, but not absolute zero temperature, and slowly rising. This is the experimental evidence. C is a function, mathematical function. It was Dirac's delta function, which was introduced by Dirac, the famous physicist. and it's very extremely useful for quantum mechanics. It can be represented by a graph and by properties. This graph the properties I have just seen. Delta x is equal to 0 for x not equal to 0. And delta x is equal to infinity for x is equal to 0. For delta x is equal to delta minus x. Delta cx is equal to 1 over the absolute value, the modulus of c, times delta x for c not equal to 0. And the integral, the definite integral between a and minus a, or function of x, times delta x dx is equal to function of 0. The integral of delta x dx, which definite integral between a and minus a is equal to 1, for a being any number. And then the definite integral between minus infinity to positive infinity of function of x times delta x minus x naught dx is equal to function of x naught. These are the properties of the direct delta function. This is from the book, page 30 to 301, Fundamentals Atomic and Nuclear Physics of 1990, edition by E.A. Nesisov. This experimental evidence in B that I just mentioned and the direct delta function in C both seem to support the theme in B2 above, which I mentioned. The theory I favor most is that the negative energy, that's by chilling and contracting by gravity, or by chilling by laser or gravity, when pushed through the 0 into the negative domain, will suddenly turn into a positive energy as heating up and expanding. This seems to get some experimental evidence and a mathematical function by the physicists, Dirac, both seem to point out that this behavior. But of course, this actually B and C, B the experimental evidence, and C the direct delta function, are both in respect of quantum mechanics only. They are not in respect of the origin of the universe, which thus may be just show this to mean that show that it has some evidence and something to show that there is this tendency for negative energy to turn into positive energy by passing over 0, the quantity is 0. But this is not a direct evidence, of course. So I somehow favor this because maybe people don't know whether actually the macroscopic phenomena are only a collective phenomena of the quantum behavior. Maybe that maybe that because it's quantum, it happened in quantum, so it happened in the macroscopic world. There's some possibility that will that respect the tendency. So, but I've only favored that B2 theory only because it completes my theory, my creation cycle theory. And I found it the most reliable one of all the other theories. And this is my today's video. If you're interested, you can subscribe or like it.